Okay, welcome to my modeling tutorial here on building this sci-fi vehicle in Blender. It's called a Hellion, so not a particularly original name, but a fairly unique design. As you can see up here, we've got a polygon count of just under 44,000 faces. And this is what we're going to be building, at least in this section. There's another course that will be on here shortly to do a little more advanced detailing, but this is pretty good. So let me just give you a quick overview of the model. I guess it's a fighter. It's designed primarily to be used in space, but it also can land and function somewhat in the atmosphere. So let's just take a look. We've got a main turbofan engine here. So turbine up here and a mesh grill, and we've got some vertical thrust nozzles down here. Standard jet exhaust in the back. And then we have some reaction control thrusters up here for maneuvering in space on both the top and the bottom. Right there. And then moving on to the wing, we've got some more hull panels and lines on there. And some different weapons. We've got missiles right here. And another one there. We have a machine gun type device right there, type weapon. And then we also have multiple launch rockets up here. And finally a couple more little guns here on the front. Okay, and then we also have some secondary engines around here near the back, and a few more reaction control thrusters right there. And I guess this is just an air vent up here. So that's basically the model that we're going to be building. I'm assuming that you guys are somewhat familiar with basic modeling techniques in Blender, rotating, moving, scaling, things like that. If not, go ahead and find a quick intro. There are a ton of them on the internet, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, before we get started on the actual model, I just want to go over a few of the techniques that we're going to be using that you guys may or may not have run into before. So let's do proportional editing really quickly, because this is one of the first parts of building the model. And what happens when you do that is, here, let's subdivide this a few times. And what you can do is grab one vertex or edge or face, but in this case we'll go with the vertex. We'll turn proportional editing on, and then there's different options here. So you have this right here, which we're going to be using, which is the sharp. So if you pull this down, you can see it's affecting more than just the vertex that we're pulling. And when you use your mouse wheel, your scroll wheel like that, you change the area of influence for it. So that's what the sharp one looks like. And then you also have sphere, which is the other one we're going to be using. When you pull that down, you can see that it moves them slightly differently than the sharp tool. And you guys can play with this a little bit, but sharp and sphere are the only ones we're going to be using for this model. And then let's go ahead and cover the knife tool really fast. It's a very common tool, but some people don't use it that much. So all you do is you hit Shift K, and then you can pick one point. It doesn't have to be a vertex, but it can be. And you just drag this to another point right there, and you hit enter. And so now you've cut your faces like that. Okay, and that doesn't necessarily seem to be a useful tool, except it can be when you guys want to make some modifications to an object. So like we'll start with this UV sphere here. And this is similar to something that we're going to be doing. And we'll do Shift K again, and we'll just cut diagonally across it. And I don't think I'm going to pick these faces perfectly, but it doesn't really matter. You could pick all these faces exactly where you cut them. And you just delete them right there. So it's a pretty easy way to get some unique cuts from your objects in your scene. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is different ways to rotate stuff, and this will be really fast. So we'll just go ahead and add a circle, and we'll extrude, turn off proportional editing, scale that in, and we'll get rid of everything but these top two. Okay, so normally when you rotate something in Blender, I'm just going to rotate this, and it rotates on the default, which is bounding box center. But if we go to 3D cursor, which is down here, and rotate it, you can see it rotates all the way around there. So you can add detail to one part of a circular object and just rotate it all the way around. So that's kind of useful. And another thing you can do is we can go to individual origins. Actually, I'm not sure if it'll work. It works a little bit, but here. So like we just pick a few of these and rotate them on the individual origins, we get a much different effect as well. So that stuff can be pretty useful. And let's just go over the basic angles really quickly. So we'll go back to 3D cursor, and if you duplicate this and you rotate it by 180, then you have one directly across from it. You grab everything again, Shift D to duplicate, rotate it by 90. Okay, and then one more time, rotate it 45, actually 2 more times. And then most people know 180, 90, and 45, but the next increment is 22.5. And you just divide by 2 as you go down. So now we've kind of rebuilt our original circle, but we have a bunch of double vertexes here, so we'll just select everything. And there is a remove doubles function over here somewhere. Yeah, right here. But what I do whenever I start Blender is I hit spacebar and I type remove doubles in there, and it says remove 32 vertices. So now every time I hit spacebar, it's right there because I do it a lot. So I think that's pretty good to kind of bring you guys up to speed on some of the techniques we're going to be using. So go ahead and grab yourself a beverage or whatever, and we'll go ahead and start building this model.